Brad?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
So, obviously we're very, very pleased the jury recognized what is and is not certain acceptable conduct with law enforcement. We are disappointed they did not give us a complete plaintiff's verdict, but that aside, they recognized what they would and would not tolerate, and they spoke about that. And on a side note, personally, I'm incredibly proud of Lieutenant Nazario and what he was able to accomplish. There was this court action. This action led to revamping of Windsor's policies and procedures. It spawned a whole bunch of change that is necessary to protect others from this type of conduct again. And that has gone on outside of the courtroom, but nonetheless has been a part and parcel of this man's actions. And I'm incredibly in his debt for that, and I think we all are. So thank you very much.
So the only thing it seemed like they said they would not tolerate was assault by Gutierrez, his conduct, and then the illegal search by Crocker.
Correct.
That's not much.
Hey, but it's going to put a shot across everyone's bow that type of action will not be tolerated, because even the jury came out and said that they would not tolerate it.
Were you surprised at all?
I'm never surprised with what a jury does.
Can you speak on behalf of your client? You know, did he have a moment to share his thoughts with you?
I haven't had a chance to talk to him about his thoughts on the verdict at all yet.
Where do you go from here? Can you do anything?
Yeah, there's post-trial work, as Mr. Roberts referenced, certain areas of appeal. We do think that there are appealable issues in this case, and we'll take it up, with the appropriate forum, being the Fourth Circuit.
So the jury basically said they felt like the way that Crocker handled the stop and pulled the deadly force right off the bat was acceptable. So what should people do in the future?
That is a good question, right? That is a very good question, is what should be done in the future, but apparently this particular jury determined that was not excessive under the circumstances.
Okay. Do you guys have questions?
Can you explain the verdict?
So the verdict basically broke down into that the force was not excessive under the circumstances, but that the assault by Joseph Gutierrez was. And then that there was a search, and apparently they determined that Joseph Gutierrez was more complicit in that search and more responsible by the punitive damages that they awarded than was defendant Crocker, who actually conducted it.
And both the damages were punitive?
No, the damage on the search was punitive. The damage on the assault was for the assault itself.
Do you think this shows that the jury did not believe that your client had PTSD or any of these psychological disorders coming out of this?
I can come up with different ways where they still believe that, but did not want to give liability. So I do not know what they were speaking on that, what they were thinking on that in that respect.
Okay. Is there anything we're missing?
Does this mean that the law enforcement has more authority than the U.S. military?
I don't think this was an issue of who had more authority, the military or the law enforcement. I think it's slightly different.
Mr. Nazario, you can't speak to your plans for the future?
I would prefer to hold any comments off until a future date. Thank you.
Is there anything you can say to folks who are driving and this happens to them? And now we've heard from a jury who said this is perfectly acceptable behavior outside of what Gutierrez did in terms of an assault and Crocker did in terms of an illegal search?
I think we'll hold off on that one for a while.
Okay. Macy, did you have a question? We already went through a lot of it, but
Yeah.
if you had like a burning question, say reaction.
Once again, the reaction is we are pleased that the jury determined that there were certain things that they would not tolerate. Obviously, we're disappointed they determined that there were things that they would, but we are once again very pleased that they put their foot down and said certain actions from law enforcement they're not going to tolerate in Virginia.
What's next moving forward?
Levels of post-trial motions and appeal.
Anything you want to share?
Not at this time.
Lieutenant Nazario, you've had a lot of people here supporting you this week. Just tell us what that means to you. How about that?
Well, first off, I would like to thank everyone that has come from near and far to support me, and I would like to say continue to keep the spotlight on matters like this. Thank you for the support.
I hate to ask this again, but were you shocked by the verdict?
I try not to be shocked by anything juries do, whether it goes incredibly in my favor or.
No, absolutely. You have
Yes,
been.
very fair.
Very
Thank
fair.
you. All right, so just say and spell your name, give your title.
Ann Laren, A-N-N-E, last name L-A-H-R-E-N. I'm an attorney with Pender and Coward. And this is my colleague Rick Matthews, Bob Samuel, also with Pender and Coward.
Okay, so what's your reaction to all of this?
Having seen all of the evidence and the full picture in this case, we believe the jury made the right decision. And in light of the current climate, that took a lot of courage, and we thank them for their service.
And you said you would not be answering any questions, or can I ask you a question?
Correct. You have to have, Mr.
You
Matthews
may
may
ask
ask.
the question whether we'll
answer the
it or not.
questions.
So did this jury tell the public what these officers did outside of the assault by Gutierrez and the illegal search, which a judge had already determined
That
that
already
what
been
they
wrote
did
on.
was okay? It was
Yes, that's
reasonable.
That's exactly what the jury said. The jury had the opportunity to view the massive videotapes, 3 of them, 1 from the plaintiff himself, 2 from the police officers, and go through every alleged tort wrong that we were challenged, and the only thing they found was an assault with a very minimal amount of damages against Officer Gutierrez and against our client, Officer Crocker, $1,000 in damages for the search, which we admitted, he didn't follow the proper procedure. So we feel the verdict was fair. It was courageous on the part of the jury, given the political climate, and we're very pleased.
Have you had the opportunity to talk to your client? Like, how's he feeling coming out of this?
He feels very good about it.
Does he have a message for the jury?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for a job well done. Well reasoned. They took a lot of time with this decision.
did.
They took half a day on Friday. They took the better part of the day today.
And you know, it's stressful for, we forget sometimes, it's stressful for Officer Crocker to go through this. I mean, I understand what the plaintiff said and how he said he was damaged, but Officer Crocker's a police officer and he's lived in Windsor his entire life, and he's had to live with this lawsuit saying he did all these things wrong. And the jury has said that he did everything right except for the gun, which was a minimal thing. They said he didn't assault the plaintiff. He didn't commit battery. He didn't commit false imprisonment. So I think they've vindicated him as doing a good job as a police officer and protecting Windsor.
And they vindicated, his actions in that he perceived this vehicle as, having a missing license plate, potentially carrying contraband or something like that. It was a high-risk stop, and that he was entitled to pull his gun.
That's correct.
That's what the jury held.
So what's your advice to drivers coming out of this?
My advice to drivers would be obey the law. When your policeman follows in behind you, puts his blue lights on, pull over. Then cooperate. Don't refuse to get out of the car if he has to get out of the car. Cooperate, and the officers will work with you. That's exactly what is showed here.
Okay. Anyone else questions?
I'm done.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you all very
Thank
much.
you all for being here.
Does this mean that the law enforcement has more authority than the military?
I don't see it as a debate between the two. I think that's apples and oranges.
Being that this didn't happen on military and he was in uniform, is that to say that if in uniform coming from drill that...
I don't think that had anything to do with what happened.